Why on earth would this be a priority for President Biden? And old Biden used to be for border enforcement, remember?
I was for 700 miles. People are driving across that border with tons, hear me, tons of everything from byproducts from methamphetamine to cocaine to heroin. It's all coming up through corrupt Mexico.
Corrupt Mexico, the drug traffickers, well, those days are over. Biden's not talking about those problems. The goal is not to protect our border, what he's talking about in that old video, but to open it. It's so bad that starting tomorrow, Biden's going to use taxpayer money to begin physically retrieving the 25,000 migrants now living in Mexico who were at least temporarily deported there by the Trump administration pending their asylum hearings. But don't worry, I'm sure he's going to get temperature checks before they board the buses. And maybe even their first dose of the COVID vaccine. I understand some are getting that too. Grandma can't get it, but illegal immigrants can. There may be room for compromise on an immigration bill if there's any sense that Democrats would take enforcement seriously. Maybe they could show us for, I don't know, a couple of years that they'll lock down the border, really enforce it. But we know they won't do that. So this bill, like all the others that came before, will go down in flames. Democrats will turn off millions of already beleaguered voters in 2022. Probably will be all masked up then too if the Democrats have their way. And those voters are going to wonder why they ever voted for a party that never put them first. And that's the angle. Joining me now is someone who knows this issue better than most, former White House senior advisor Stephen Miller. Stephen, it's good to see you tonight. I mean, you're kind of the poster child, other than President Trump himself, for the left's outrage and vile directed toward any of us who believe in border enforcement first. What do Americans need to understand about what they're doing right now that's going to change America as we know it?
Thank you, Laura. I just had a chance to begin reading and studying the legislation that was introduced today with the full support of Joe Biden. It is the most radical immigration bill ever written, ever drafted, ever submitted in the history of this country. It is breathtaking. As just a few examples, Laura. Under this bill, every single illegal alien in the country who merely submits an application to the U.S. government, if they want to work, they are work authorized immediately. Just submitting the application, you are work authorized. Furthermore, every employer in the country is immediately allowed to hire illegal aliens even if they haven't submitted their application. In other words, you can hire an illegal alien just on their word that someday they may want to submit an application.
Wow.
So when you have 20 million Americans who want full-time jobs right now, but because of the pandemic they can't find them, illegal hiring is amnestied, illegal work is amnestied. This happens immediately day one. Additionally, and this might be the most insane thing of all, Laura, the legislation orders the Secretary of State to develop an application process to allow illegal aliens deported by the Trump administration, so from January 2017 to present day, to allow them to apply for re-entry and citizenship.
Oh my
Full
God.
amnesty. Yes, it's in the bill, in the plain text.
So it's not, Stephen, it's not just the ones who are waiting in Mexico pending their asylum applications. You're saying everyone who is deported?
Correct. In the legislation, it says
Okay, I missed that.
anybody who arrived, anybody who's lived in the country for at least 3 years, who was deported by Donald Trump, can reapply. And it orders the Secretary of State to develop a process to mail those applications out to the 200 countries in the world to where illegal aliens are deported. This is a full-scale attack on the very idea of nationhood. If you were trying to write a bill to eliminate the concept of having a nation, this is the bill you would write. It lets criminals back into the country. It says that as long as somebody has a need for family unity, their criminal conviction can be overlooked. Even very serious felony convictions can be overlooked and waived by the Secretary in the name of family unity.
And Stephen, this is stunning information that you're revealing tonight, reading the actual text of the bill. I want to make sure everyone understands, because people are very charitable and they want to give people a break, and I understand that. But this is not, we're not talking about a couple of million people. We're not talking about 11 million illegals, Stephen. The actual number of illegal immigrants is much higher. A new Yale study says it's as high as 19.8 million, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. The Wall Street Journal reporting that more than 75,000 people were arrested crossing the border illegally in January, the most in any January in more than a decade. Why isn't this on every single network? And why do people keep saying 11 million people? That is like a 2006 number, Stephen.
Right, yeah, the time froze in 2006. This bill is so crazy, Laura, that under its own terms, if you came here on a student visa, say 6 months ago, you dropped out of school, you failed to show up in class, you violated the terms of your arrival, and you were supposed to go home and you didn't go home, and you've been living here just for a few weeks even, you can get citizenship, full citizenship in this country. It also eliminates a law passed by Bill Clinton that establishes a waiting period to get free federal health care for people who get green cards. It just deletes it right in the bill. It says that section of law is gone. And just page after page after page. I'll give you another example. This bill establishes a $50,000 fine if a federal worker refers an application to law enforcement because they're concerned about what they see on it. It fines them $50,000. I could go on and on and on. The last point I'll make, Laura,
the Republicans,
legal immigration too.
Republicans in the Senate have got to resist this. They need to get 10 to break any filibuster, I believe, 10 Republicans, and there's lots of Chamber of Commerce Republicans who are fine with, endless supply of cheap labor. This is a complete attack on our sovereignty and our independence. Stephen, thank you for joining us tonight and giving us just at least a glimpse into what's going on. And of course, Texas is bearing the brunt of the mass influx of illegals that are surging across the border, including 6,000 unaccompanied minors in the month of January alone. But compounding that problem is, of course, that Texans are now enduring ongoing power outages after days of severe cold weather. Democrats are claiming it's the state's stubborn reliance on fossil fuels. That's the problem. But is it right? Joining me now is Texas Lieutenant Governor